What's up guys, I'm Nocturnal, and today we're going to be talking about Gran Saga. Anime style Korean developed Genshin Killer 2.0 MMORPG? This one? Yeah, this one. Now, Gran Saga is one of the first of many anime MMORPGs coming out this year, looking to really capitalize and expand on the success of games like Genshin Impact. Now, of course, these two games have been compared a lot before, and they do share a lot of similarities, but today we're going to be talking about what Gran Saga is all about, what it really brings to the table and a lot of its core features, and how the MMORPG system it implements really distinguishes the game from other titles in the genre. Now, the ultimate question is this game going to be worth playing? Is it worth your time, worth checking out, and does it deserve all this hype that has kind of accumulated over the past few years? We're going to answer that today, and of course, if you guys like the video, let me introduce you to my friends, the like and subscribe button, which helps support the channel and really get that best gaming, anime, and anime gaming content on YouTube out to you guys every week, twice a week. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, for starters, what exactly is Gran Saga? And of course, the game has gathered quite a bit of attention in its developmental stages, recruiting Korean stars like Taeyeon and getting that whole elementary school play vibe down, which is... And so in short, Gran Saga is an anime-style MMORPG developed in Korea that carries with it a lot of familiar gaming systems in the gacha character rolling system, action RPG combat, and of course that familiar aesthetic cel-shaded art, which has gotten in a lot of comparisons to a game we're all familiar with in Genshin Impact. One of the fundamental differences between the two games is the fact that Gran Saga introduces the MMORPG system, and in doing so it has opened up the game to a vast number of exciting player-to-player features, something that a lot of Genshin players have expressed their desire for given the limited co-op system in the game. Now of course, anyone who's ever played an anime MMORPG before may be a little apprehensive, knowing the many implications and issues these games and systems often have. And of course, these are things we're going to be discussing and factoring into our ultimate verdict as we move on to the overview of Gran Saga's content and main features. Gran Saga is driven around a character class system, with each class offering a unique playstyle and set of abilities. While the game's classes are rolled into a roster of preset characters, the way you customize and orient them into teams determines how you ultimately engage in the third-person action RPG combat. Other weapons and items, which you can bolster your roster with, are obtained through different activities in the game, such as looting, crafting, and, to no surprise, a gacha system. The weapons offer unique systems and mechanics in themselves, and can be individually upgraded and customized. The premier Gran weapons grant powerful interactions with the characters and unlock special perks and abilities all on their own. Of course, the combat is going to look familiar to any action RPG anime combat you've played before, but shares a particular likeness to games like Genshin, as you take a team into combat and can actively swap between characters you have, utilizing each of their abilities and, of course, your weapon abilities as well. With that being said, there's an abundance of ways you can take part in the action and combat, and in typical MMORPG fashion, there are many of these you can do alone, or if you decide to, you can do with friends as well. Now, aside from doing story and traveling across the world map, we're going to start by talking about the Infinite Library, which is a solo mode where you travel across the game board and take part in a roguelike experience. Now, the game type balances board game mechanics and RPG combat, and as you move to different parts of the map, you are teleported into rooms where you take down mobs, solve puzzles, and ultimately accumulate skills and abilities to customize your team. And of course, in typical roguelike fashion, each playthrough is vastly different, from the map itself to the mobs you face and the abilities you obtain. And in doing so, this guarantees replayability and a unique way to mix things up when you're playing your characters and experiencing the game as a whole. Of course, in typical MMORPG fashion, there are also raids and dungeons that you can take part in, and dungeons being a 5-player experience and raids being up to 10 players. And while you're in these instances, you're put up against bosses that have different mechanics, ultimately forcing you and your teammates to work together and interact to take them down. The multiplayer aspect of the game is also expressed in a PvP style event where, similar to the Infinite Library, you are placed on a board, but instead of taking part in the normal action combat and other parts of the game, you are involved in a turn-based style game. And of course, as you're progressing through the game, exploring the world, and taking part in its many activities, your fellow players are always kept close via the guild and friend system, which allows you to actively communicate, coordinate, and of course access unique guild perks and buffs. And so Gran Saga, in bringing together these many features, creates a blend of your standard MMORPG and mixes it together with the style, inspiration, and a bit of the hype from current games like Genshin Impact. But in doing so, it also shoulders many of the potential shortcomings and issues gacha games and anime MMORPGs have traditionally had. And so the question is, how does this factor into the overall experience and affect the game as a whole? So, Gran Saga is attempting to meet the grand expectations set by Genshin Impact, while at the same time expanding and bringing in the MMORPG aspect. And some of the biggest problems and concerns I have with Gran Saga are the problems that are tied to traditional anime MMOs. We've seen so many promising anime games like this in the past, and most suffer from and eventually fall to the same set of issues. Gran Saga is of course inherently tied to microtransactions, as the game is driven by a gacha rolling system. And even in successful gacha stories like Genshin Impact, it's one of the biggest problems that players have with this type of game. And as an extension of this, the static character system is one that does not lend well to an MMO space either. The open world model is constantly diluted when you're running into the same looking character over and over again, and the feeling of uniqueness is lost when you're only able to switch between a roster of preset characters. This may work in Genshin's case, where there is only you and maybe a few other players occupying an entire world on your own. But in the case of Gran Saga, where it is a true MMO and you're constantly involved with other players and you want to be interacting with them, the lack of player anonymity in this case is something that poses a severe issue to the game as it progresses. That is not to say that more static MMOs with regards to character customization haven't worked before, but fine-tuning and ultimately resolving design issues like these will really come down to the flow of engaging endgame content. Something that not just anime MMOs, but the entire genre struggles with constantly. Now, Gran Saga is brightly wrapped, colorful, and just a bit hyped, but that being said, one of the biggest elephants in the room, as I've talked about throughout the video, is its striking similarity to Genshin Impact. And where Genshin was innovative, colorful, and concise, Gran Saga, in sharing several key systems, whether it's the gacha system, static character design, or just a similar third-person action combat, to me struggles with originality. The game just doesn't seem as colorful, creative, and clean as the former. And delivering on these ends is something that is essential to a game looking to bring in mobile gamers while at the same time captivating the interest of PC players. And so, releasing in Korea and later this year worldwide, Gran Saga is a game that has an exciting premise as it looks to expand on a Genshin style game with MMO capabilities. But of course, the flashiness and bells and whistles aren't everything, and the game shoulders the pros and cons of both worlds, accommodating key design issues and breaking the anime MMO stigma of lackluster content flow will ultimately determine how the game performs. But that being said, don't let that stop you from having a bit of flashy, anime action-packed fun. For now. Alright guys and gals, as always, thanks again for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video and learned anything new, don't forget to like and subscribe. As I mentioned earlier, it does help support the channel and really get that best gaming, anime gaming content out to you guys every week, twice a week. So besides that, don't forget to hit the notification bell to be notified of that. And we do stream 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday as well. So if you guys want to hang out live, I'm going to leave a link to the Twitch down below in the description. So besides that, we'll see you guys next time. Catch you later.